Okay, here are my thoughts on the fight between Anthony Joshua and Jason Gavern. Well, as I alluded to in my previous video, it didn't really matter whether Joshua got rid of Gavern in one round or got rid of him in 8 rounds. If you're talking about him becoming the next heavyweight champion of the world, he did what he was meant to do. There was a vast difference in size, strength, power, ability. It was a real mismatch, really. Gavin tried his best to stand in there with Joshua, but it was a mismatch. How Anthony Joshua can compare Jason Gavin to Kevin Kingpin Johnson in terms of trickery, if he's getting out hustled by Jason Gavin for 3 rounds, then God only knows what Kevin Kingpin Johnson's going to do, because Kingpin Johnson's not going to leave his chin out to dry against Joshua. And Kingpin Johnson does throw the odd counter here and there. I'd like to know what sort of condition Kingpin Johnson is for this fight. I'd like to know what his mental state is for this fight. He's got plenty of time to prepare for the fight, so he's got no excuses not to come to the UK in great shape, and he's got a great opportunity to cause the upset. So when that fight comes around, I'll talk about it more. But it is time for Anthony Joshua to step up, and having him as top of the bill, to be honest, I'm not sure if that's any better than when Audley Harrison was fighting on BBC TV. I think if you're going to be fighting that sort of opposition in sort of Jason Gavin, and then shouting out and saying he's ready for Tyson Fury, Derek Chisora, who's challenged for the world title and fought the best heavyweight in the world on the planet at the time, and then for Tyson Fury, who's on the verge of fighting for a world title, I think you're kind of misleading the public, because you're not telling them exactly, look, this guy that Anthony Joshua's fighting is a stepping stone. He's part of the building process. We can't stick him in with a Klitschko tomorrow, so he has to have these learning fights. But what exactly are you learning in the gym? I mean, what did Anthony Joshua have to learn? What did he learn in that fight against Gavin? That he hits hard, okay? That he can beat up on a guy that is significantly smaller than him. That if a guy goes down, if he's got in a position to hit a guy, he'll hit a guy. What else? We haven't learned nothing else more about Anthony Joshua. Now, what happens now if in the next fight he has, the guy's hitting him back on the chin, slipping his punches, making him miss, making him pay, countering him, punishing him? What does he do then? Because, of course, it's a big fight then, and he has not prepared for that. When you get hit with your first big punch, if you remember when Bruno fought Jumbo Cummins, Bruno was knocking everybody out, and Anthony Joshua isn't knocking people out cold, laying them out. Somebody made a very valid point on my YouTube channel and said to me, you know what, Bayloric, Anthony Joshua isn't knocking people out. The referee's coming and stopping the fight, but he's not knocking people unconscious, a la Wilder. Like when Wilder hit you on the chin and you went over, you stayed on the ground. You didn't get up. The referee wasn't coming and stopping the fight. You were out cold. I mean, you're getting knocked out bad. Joshua's not quite doing that. So, is Joshua a big heavyweight puncher? Or is he going to be a heavyweight puncher that hits with respectable power, but overwhelms you with the amount of punches he throws? That's the question, because you can't really call him a big puncher until he fights somebody of real note and he puts them away. So he's not like, he didn't lay Gavin flat out on the canvas and Gavin didn't get up. Not like the Tyson days where Tyson would hit you and you stay on the deck. This guy's hitting you and the guys are still continuing. Same with Matt Skelton. Same with Michael Sprott. So it's something to think about. I don't know. Joshua himself might be getting frustrated because he's probably thinking to himself, why am I having these sort of fights? I need to move on. I need to fight somebody of some decent note. As I said, he's got Kevin Johnson next, and we'll see how that goes. It's very different. A fighter looks very different, and boxing fanatics, you try and tell them this, and they will take the fight of Gavern and take that in their mind and said, Joshua looked like a beast. Yeah, he could fight the Klitschko's. Yeah, he could knock out Tyson Fury. Yeah, he could do all this stuff. He's doing it against a guy he's expected to do it against. The thing is, you can't do those same things against guys that know how to slip your punches, that know how to get inside your punches, that will hit you back, that have got more than a week to prepare for a fight. So bear in mind, again, like I said, Jason Gavin came over. He's probably deal with jet lag, being the time difference, a week's notice. So for Jason Gavin to fiddle Joshua around for 3 rounds, what about a guy who's fully prepared, equipped to do the job? What happens then? I mean, I don't know. I think it still is very premature to be talking about this guy as a next world champion. I think we need to know whether he's going to be, first of all, if he's good enough to be a British champion. Is he good enough to be Commonwealth champion? Is he good enough to be European champion? And then we could probably talk about world honours. But this business about, is he the next world champion? No, he's not. He's not. Because there's other guys ahead of Mr. Joshua in the pack who may get to that world title before he does. So yeah, I don't know. He sees at the moment. We don't know whether Joshua is a front foot bully. We don't know. Like I said, when he gets hit in the chin, when he's got somebody as big as himself throwing punches back, what does he do? Like, for example, now, what happens if he fights a Dillian White, for example? How would he cope with that? How would he deal with somebody like that who's coming to hurt him? Somebody who's gonna have more than 1 week to prepare. He's not gonna have to worry about jet lag. Somebody who's gonna have as much ambition as himself. Somebody who's gonna want to take his head off. Then, say if he went out there and he destroyed Dillian White, for example, somebody who everyone gauges as another up and coming fighter, who thinks that he could be on the cusp of something special. If he were to blow him away, then we could say, okay, this guy's going places. He could probably be one of the best fighters in the UK. We could talk about that then, potentially, maybe. But according to Peter Fury, on a tweet, this is quite interesting. He said that Jason Gavin, as a sparring partner, was so bad, and this is according to Peter Fury on his Twitter page. They brought him for sparring. He was so bad as a sparring partner that they asked for their money back via the flight. So they wanted their flight money back. So that's how bad Jason Gavin was in sparring. So his argument was, look, hey, Jason Gavin's top of the bill with Anthony Joshua. How can this be possible? I mean, the standard of fighting and boxing, I'm just to say on Sky, is really atrocious. How can you be having a 10-fight pro fighting against? It's just terrible. And the thing is, you watch that, and then you've got to keep yourself up to watch boxing in America as well. It's just not good. It's not good. It's selling people who don't know about boxing, gives them the impression they see a fight and they think, well, because they see that fight and have seen him fight once or twice, then he's the best fighter in the world. So for me, again, until Joshua fights somebody of measure and of standard, these fights mean nothing. Let's hope Kingpin Johnson comes with some sort of ambition and comes to fight. The last thing we want to do is, like I said before, Joshua in a ring with an opponent that can hit him back, that can take his best punch, that can maneuver out the way of his punch and land their punch, and then Joshua not knowing what to do. Because then you've got a problem. Let me know what you guys think. I'm out. Take care.